Oh, shalom, shalom. Oh, coming to take it. Right? Here I come. When you take. Oh, Shabbat shalom. Senbet salam. Wendemoch. Oh, echetoch. Inatoch. Oh, this is the RasTafari sabbatical study number 21. When you take the sum, Tissa, oh, bekutar hacho gize ba'amarinya. When you take the sum, this Torah portion comprises from the Torah, Exodus chapter 30, verse 11, to Exodus chapter 34, verse 35, from the Haftarah reading, the Nabim, the prophets, the Nabiyat reading, 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 1 to verse 39, same chapter, 1 Kings 18 and 1 to 1839, and in the New Testament reading from the Apostle Hawaria Paulos, from Paul, 2 Corinthians chapter 3. And this is going to be a summary, brothers and sisters, an overview. Oh. Oh, now this Torah portion concerns, this Torah portion contains the sin of the golden calf. It speaks of the sin of the golden calf, and I've been meditating on that, and many of us I know, no doubt, who are familiar with this particular Torah portion, reading and feeding, know that this is concerning what is called the golden calf and the golden calf apostasy. Now, in the last two Orit, that's Ethiopic for Torah, in the last two Orit readings, the Orit Nibab, Minbab, Teruma, and Tetzaveh, right? Moses went up to the mount. He was upon Mount Sinai, right? Receiving the vision, the Rai. He received the vision of the Mishkan, the vision of the tabernacle, the holy place, the Mekdes, or the sanctuary, and its various furnishings and the various items of the tabernacle, right, of the Mishkan. So we can bring this up as a kind of a basic sample right here, or an example, overview of the tabernacle, right, in the previous two Torah portions. So from Torah portion number 19, Torah portion number 20, and here we are in Torah portion number 21. So over the last two readings, 19 and 20, which was Teruma, in the Hebrew Teruma, and Tetzaveh, or Tetzaweh, right? The Mishkan, the vision of the tabernacle, and the various furnishings, the various furniture, right, of the tabernacle, the various instruments, as well as the attention to detail, all the details, right, of the furniture, the cloth, the design, all of that, right, is discussed. And we have to ask ourselves, why does Yahweh he who be who he be gives such details. This must be very important, right, to Ha-Elohim, to Eloheinu, right, to highlight for this detail here. Now, in this particular Shabbat portion, in this Torah portion reading, this Strong's portion, Jah, he commands that all the Israelite and the Israelitish men who are over the age of 20, all the men who are over the age of 20, they were required to pay a tax, right, for the upkeep of the Mekdes, for the upkeep of the sanctuary. Now, I want you to note that Moses, at this particular point, when we begin off this Torah portion, reading and feeding, in Exodus chapter 30, verse 11, Moses is still on the mount. He is still in the mount, and he's still receiving this vision, right? The vision of the pattern of the tabernacle. That's very important to know, because we know that the sin of the golden calf, or the golden calf apostasy, the falling away, that's what apostasy is, a falling away, takes place in this particular Torah portion, reading and feeding. But how do we get there, and what is the context? We need to really see the true POV, the true prophecy of the vision, the true point of view, right? So Moses is on the mountain 40 days, 40 nights, right? Receiving these gracious instructions, right? And the vision of Yahweh's holy place, of his Mishkan, his dwelling place. Right? He says, create me a sanctuary that I might dwell, right, amongst the children of Israel. Right? So this is a glory, this is an honor, right, that he's receiving on behalf of the children of Israel. So this particular instruction that Moses received is still while he's in the mount, to bring that down to the people, right? So Elohim commands that all the Israeli men, the Israelitish men, right, and the Hebrew men who were over the age of 20, they were required to pay a tax for the upkeep, right, for the upkeep of the Mekdes, right? In Exodus 30 and 12, it says that you shall give, right? You shall give a ransom, right? You shall give a ransom, or a kofar for his life to Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, to Yahweh, right? You will give a ransom for his life to Yahweh, right? Now, after this tax was defined, Yahweh describes some additional elements that would be required for the priestical service at the Mekdes, at the holy place, at the sanctuary, namely a copper wash stand, sacred anointing oil, and incense for the golden altar in the holy place. Now, Yahweh, then he named somebody, and this is kind of significant right here, right? All this Moses is receiving, once again, all of this instruction Moses is receiving while he is still in the mount, right? While he's still in Mount Sinai, right? So Yahweh names Bezalel, right? Bezalel, right? Bezalel, right? A man according to Yahweh, right? According to he who be, according to the Almighty. This man, Bezalel, was filled with the spirit of Elohim. I found this to be interesting. I want to share this right here. I haven't, gone through or fully vetted the site, but in my search for some images and art, I came across this right here, right? This particular brother right here who says that his name is, according to the pointing here, Bezalel, 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 Bezalel. Right? My name is Bezalel, which means in the shadow of God. Right? And this is from his website. This individual's website is masterteacher33.com. Right? And I found it to be kind of interesting here. I want to share a little bit of this right here. He says, when Moses received Torah at Sinai, he was given visions of the tabernacle, the Mishkan, right? The Mishkan, a tent-like structure where Elohim's presence, or the Shekinah, right, would dwell, or Shakan, in the midst of the camp of Israel. Though Moses received the pattern, right, or what's called the Tavnit, right, or the Tabnit. The Tabnit is the Hebrew word for pattern of the heavenly dwelling. He was unable to create the artifacts themselves, and therefore Ha-Elohim, he called this man Bezalel by name to be the chief architect of the structure. In history, right, in the history, Bezalel was the son of Hur, right, of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, Yehuda, an ancestor of King David, who, according to Josephus, was the husband of Moses' sister Miriam. This was the same Hur chosen to go with Moses and Aaron to the top of a mount to prop up Moses' arms during Israel's first war against the Amalekites, or the Amalekites. Right, in Exodus 17:8-13. Bezalel is clearly a type or a picture of the Messiah Yeshua. After all, he was a man, quote, called by name from the tribe of Yehuda, who was filled with the Ruach Ha-Elohim, the Ruach Elohim, right, to build the dwelling place of Yahweh, an apt enough description of Ha-Adon Yeshua, Rasu, of the Lord Yeshua himself. Now, Moses was said to be so astonished at Bezalel's abilities that he said Bezalel must have been in the shadow while he received his visions at Sinai, right? Or Bezalel Hayita. You were indeed in the shadow, for you have the ability to create what Kedus Baruchu, the Holy One, blessed be He, had commanded me. Indeed, the name, let's zoom in here a little bit right here so you can see it. Indeed, the name Bezalel means in the shadow of Elohim, or in the shade of Elohim. Right. Moreover, Bezalel's chief assistant was Aholiab, or Aholiab, a name that means my father, my Ab, right, my father's tent. Oheli, my tent, and Av, or Ab. So Bezalel was like Yeshua, or just as Jesus, right, in that, one, he was from the kingly tribe of Judah. 2, he was a young carpenter. 3, he was unusually, quote, filled with the Ruach Elohim. His father's name, Ori, means my light. Compared with James 1:17. His assistant, Aholiab, was from the tribe of Dan, and Dan means judge, symbolizing the legal aspects of Torah. Sixthly, let's bring this down right here so you can see it. Right, it was he rather than Moses who actually built the Mishkan, which was the archetypal pattern, or the Tavnit, the pattern, the Abned, Bamarinya, right, for the spiritual temple, 1 Peter 2:5, as it is written in Hebrews chapter 3 and 1-6, Hebrews chapter 3, 1-6. Therefore, holy brothers, you who share in the heavenly call, and consider Yeshua the apostle, right, and the high priest, right? So he was both the apostle, right, and the high priest, right? The apostle, the hashaliach, right? And Kohen HaGadol of our confession, who was faithful to him who appointed him, just as Moses also was faithful in all Elohim's house. For Yeshua has been counted worthy of more glory than Moses, as much more glory as the builder of a house has more honor than the house itself. For every house is built by someone, but the builder of all things is God, is Elohim. Baruch Hu, blessed be he. Now, Moses was faithful in all God's house as a servant to testify to things that were to be spoken later, but the Messiah is faithful over Elohim's house as a son. And we are his house, if indeed we hold firmly our confidence, our trust, Taman, and our boast in our hope. The thing I like the most is the Torah states that God endowed Bezalel with the Ruach Elohim, the spirit of the power, and with wisdom, Chokmah, right? And with understanding and knowledge, right? With understanding and knowledge, right? The same attributes used to describe Elohim as the creator of the universe. So that's interesting. Exodus 35 and 31. Compare Proverbs chapter 3, verses 19-20. Now, according to the Talmud, which is some of Talmud basically means teaching, right? So according to the teaching, Bezalel was just 13 years old when he began building the tabernacle. As a young man chosen by Elohim himself, Bezalel came and healed the wound that was caused by the sin of the golden calf. In addition to being the first great artist of Elohim mentioned in Torah, the Talmud, the Timharit, the teaching states that Bezalel, quote, knew how to join together the letters with which heaven and earth were created. Indeed, as the one who knew how to fashion the Ark of the Covenant, where the blood would be presented for our atonement, he clearly foreshadowed Jesus Christ, Yeshua Mashiachenu, Yeshua I Messiah. Now, we reference this right here from this particular site. You can steal it, check it out. We'll go to the top of this, and it's because of this particular name right here, right? Bezalel, which means in the shadow, right? Which means in the shadow of God, in the shadow of the power. Now, some of y'all might recall, let's see if we can get this right here, and some of y'all might recall, right, since we're touching on Bezalel, right, and the tabernacle, this was a picture that we had used previously. Well, actually, it's one of the Tissa images, and I still think that it's appropriate here. This is an image of an artist's conception of what right, Bezalel, right, would look like, right? So we have a master craftsman, right? Bezalel, the master craftsman, right, of the tabernacle. Let's see if we can bring this down right here so you can So you can see the name right here. All right. So this is very interesting as well. All right. So Bezalel was a man filled with the Ruach Elohim, right, with the spirit, right, of the power to be the chief architect, right, the chief architect, the master craftsman, right, of the Mishkan. Before the construction would begin, however, right, Adonai warned the people. He warned the people to be careful to observe the Shabbat. All right, and that may be the best message right here for this particular vid, though it's an overview. It was intended as an overview, but let us consider that Adonai warned the people, warned us, even within our blameless Ethiopian history. We find that the keeping by the blameless Ethiopians, the Ethiopian Hebrews of the Shabbat, whether in Hebrew and Judaic times, or whether in Christian and New Testament and Orthodox times, was very, we can say, strictly, right, and faithfully observed, right? Even in the times of His Majesty, there's special emphasis on keeping the Shabbat and punishing those who violated the Shabbat. This is what is so very interesting. You know, you have to really remind people to rest. Right? Even you have to remind I to rest. Ain't that something? And punish ones if they don't rest. Well, by not resting and keeping the Shabbat as a Shabbat, well, in that of itself, right, is the punishment. Right? Is the punishment. Right? The dis-ease, right, that happens. Now, so Bezalel, let's just get this right here and give thanks. I want to check out, see what else the brother is offering and, you know, presenting, but we still give thanks for his site right there. So we'll look into that a little more. But for this vid here, we just want to focus on this name right here. Right, and okay, here we go right here. Okay, and get a tight view right there and put these elements together, right? So Bezalel, right, master craftsman. But before the construction, so what first came? What first came was the instruction, right, over these three Shabbats, these three Torah portions, from Torah portion number 19 to Ruma, to Tzave, and to this present one here, Ki Tissa. We're getting instructions. Shabbat after Shabbat. Structure, order, right? In order. Instruction, right? Now, before the construction, right, would begin, Adonai, right, the Lord, Ha'adon, He warned the people, right? He warned, and we need to heed this warning to be careful to observe the Shabbat day, right? Be careful to observe the seventh day, right? The seventh day. Immediately following this admonition, right, this warning, Elohim gave Moshe, the 2 tablets of what we call the 10 commandments, but the 2 tablets of the 10 words, right? The 2 tablets of the 10 words, which were inscribed directly by the hand of Elohim, right? So these hieroglyphics, right, these Yahweh hieroglyphs were inscribed directly by the Yod, right, the Yod of Yahweh, Eloheinu. Now, before Moshe returned to the camp, however, there were certain people that talked his brother Aaron into making a golden idol, a bling bling idol, which they began to worship as their Elohim, as their power. Yahweh then told Moses their treachery, their apostasy, their falling away, and threatened to destroy all of the Israelites. This is how serious this sin of the golden calf was. But Moses interceded on their behalf as he rushed down the mountain with the tablets in his hands. He saw the people doing what? The people, they were dancing about the idol, right? And it said that he smashed the tablets in anger. Moses then destroyed the idol and led the Levites in slaying 3,000 of the ringleaders throughout the tribes of Israel of this apostasy. Right? Now, the following day, Moses, he returned up to Mount Sinai, and he begged Elohim to affirm the covenant after a 40-day period, right, of intercession. Yahweh finally told Moses to carve a second set of tablets and to meet him again at the summit of Sinai, where he would show Moses his glory and reveal to him the meaning of his name, Yod-Heh-Weh-Heh. When Moses encountered Yahweh in a state of brokenness and forgiveness, his face began to shine with glory, a glory that foretold the new covenant, the Brit Chadasha of Elohim's mercy and grace to come in Isus Christos, in Yeshua HaMashiach. When the people saw Moses coming down the mountain with the second set of tablets, they understood that they were forgiven and that the covenant which they had broke by their apostasy had been renewed. When they approached him, because they drew back in fear, because his face was radiant with the glory of Elohim, Moses reassured them, however, and then told them all that Yahweh had commanded while he was on the mountain. Now get this. They didn't even get to hear anything that Yahweh had commanded. It was written, but those, especially those who had apostated themselves, they didn't get to hear none of it. Let me show you this over here, right here. Right. Okay, we have this one right here. We thought this was, right, the crashing of these, right, the tablets. I thought this was an interesting one. This is from Hebrew for Christians. We had to blow it up a little bit right there. Right? So they did not get to hear any of that. It's only after all of this is said and done. Right? After all this is said and done. So you have to really kind of think about that and put it into its proper context, because in like a lot of these movies and things, you think it all happens the same day, and we get a wrong impression of what really happened, right? But by studying it, it's really interesting to see, right, that there was a 40-day, right? There was a 40-day, another 40-day. There was another 40 days, right? And then after all of that, after they were forgiven, after the covenant was renewed, right, then Moses, right, was able to tell them all that Yahweh had commanded while he was on the mountain, right? When Moses had finished speaking with them, he put a veil. It said that he put a veil over his face. From that time on, Moses wore, it said that he wore a veil in the camp, though he removed it whenever he went before Yahweh for further instruction. So in a sense, he remained veiled, right, because of that glory, right, that glory which shone on his face, which was a kind of a fourth telling, right? You know, when we think of Mount Tabor, Yeshua on Mount Tabor, we took those 3 disciples and how his garments was transfigured as white as the sun, right? Brighter actually, you know, and who was there? Moses and Elijah. Isn't this very interesting that Moses and Elijah, let's see if I can open that picture for you, because I'm seeing a revelation right here, even while going over this again and sharing it with the eye. I'm even learning more than the first time I had went over this, just in a Medi. Let's bring this open right here. So it's this sort of a scene right here, though there is, let's see, this is a larger view. Okay, so we can see this right here. Let's see if we can go 75, right? This is the Savior's Transfiguration. This is from an early 15th century icon from Tret Yaakov Gallery, right? So you remember when Yeshua on the Mount of Tabor, and who was there? Moses. We have, right, Moses and Elijah. And this Torah portion, the 21st Torah portion, who's in this particular Torah portion? Well, in this particular Torah portion, we also have Moses, right? We also have Moses and Elijah. Let's see if we can bring this over here. Here we go, right here. Moses, right? We have Moses and Elijah in this 21st Torah portion, reading and feeding. Moses and Elijah, the Mount of Transfiguration, Moses and Elijah. So now we can see what Moses saw. So we also have something also on another level. We know that the Almighty is outside of time, but we can see what was going on. This is really amazing. This is a Medi right here, my brothers and sisters. I hope that the eye of them are picking up on this right here, that we see Moses going up to the mount, right, to speak to who? To speak to Yahweh, right? We know that the Son, right, the Son is the only one who has communicated with the Father and known him as he really is, as well as in the Old Testament sense, the Malek Yahweh, right? So Moses was speaking to who? And that gleam on his face, right? That gleam on his face is linked with the transfiguration over time and space, as well as in the grace of this Torah portion, reading and feeding. We see it in this key Tissa, or the 21st Torah portion, reading and feeding right here, brothers and sisters. So this is just a brief overview, right? A brief overview, right, of this Strong's Torah portion, reading and feeding. There's some details that we would love to get into, whether we're able to do a vid here or on the air, Discipleship Radio. Please feel free to tune in, brothers and sisters. Saturday evenings at 10 p.m. on the 10 p.m. Eastern, in the Eastern time. And then once again, the number to call in, right? The call-in number is 646-595-3898. You can call in, listen in, also call in, and hopefully join us in the chat room as well, brothers and sisters. Looking forward to your reasonings, commentaries, even opinions, questions. Yes, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy the Sabbath. Brothers and sisters, Yeshua is I Sabbath, Zion Shabbat.